Now coming to the equilibrium potential, the concept which is the mainstay for today's video. What is equilibrium potential? It is that potential of the membrane. It is that potential of the membrane at which the ion has reached equilibrium. I repeat once again. When we say equilibrium potential, it is that potential of the membrane, because we are talking about equilibrium across the membrane between two compartments. So essentially we are talking about that potential on the membrane at which the ion will be in a state of equilibrium. Ion will not have net movement. That's equilibrium potential for an ion. Let's start with the sodium. What is the equilibrium potential for sodium and how do you calculate it? Let's take a typical cell, let's say a muscle cell. Sodium has got a concentration of 141 milliequivalents per liter on the outside and 14 milliequivalents per liter on the inside. These are our starting points. These are our starting concentrations for sodium. Now, with this kind of concentration gradient, sodium diffusion will start. Naturally, the sodium will start diffusing in by the concentration gradient. As the sodium comes in, two things are going to happen. Look, sodium comes in means it brings in positive charges. All right, that's positive charges have come in. And those positive charges which came in by the entry of sodium, they cannot go all the way to the core of the cell, because near the core of the cell there are proteins, anions, and surrounded by those anions are the potassium ions, because potassium is the main cation intracellularly, and therefore these positive charges which were brought in by the sodium, they cannot go there. Already there is a cation at the core. So this is just a diagrammatic. When I say core, it means at the fairly central area of the cell. So when sodium brought the positive charges, they came in and they got lined up. They are getting lined up just inside the membrane. Now what goes on happening? Two things, as I mentioned, two things will happen. A, the concentration gradient narrows. Obviously, because sodium is coming in from 141 to 14. So, this concentration gradient, which was wide initially, 141 is to 14, that will narrow. And an electrical gradient gets created in the opposite direction across the membrane. Look at this, positive charges lined up just inside the membrane. So we have more positive charges lined up inside the membrane compared to just outside the membrane. We are talking of across the membrane, okay? Across the membrane. Just on the outside there are less positive charges. Just on the inside there are lots of positive charges. So an electrical gradient has got established across the membrane with more positive charges on the inside compared to outside. So you are focusing now. Concentration gradient has narrowed from the starting point. It has narrowed. An electrical gradient got created in the opposite direction by the positive charges which were brought in by the sodium. And therefore, a stage will come when the electrical gradient, which is from inside to outside, and the concentration gradient, which is from outside to inside, they will become equal. Yes, that can happen. Many a times students ask this, they fail to understand this particular point. Therefore, I would suggest, try to understand the units. Look, this is milliequivalents per liter. Okay, milliequivalents per liter, that's different. And this is number of positive charges, number of ions, number of positive charges. That's a different unit. They are not comparable units. Okay, so the point that I am trying to make is this: out of this 141 milliequivalents per liter, even 15 or 20, just giving the example, even 15 or 20 milliequivalents of sodium coming in, 15 or 20 milliequivalents per liter, okay, just an example. What will happen? It will bring in a lot of positive charges, concentration gradient has narrowed, and electrical gradient has got created in the opposite direction by those positive charges which got lined up. Who brought those positive charges? The sodium itself has brought those positive charges. So, at one stage, concentration gradient and electrical gradient, they can become equal. Therefore, to understand that they can become equal, you must always understand this, that milliequivalents per liter is different, number of charges is different. These two are different units, and we are only and only looking at across the membrane, just inside, just outside, across the membrane. So, at one stage, these two forces have become equal, and therefore there will be no net movement of sodium from that point. Okay. Now we will say sodium has reached equilibrium, right? No net movement of sodium at that stage. Sodium has reached equilibrium. But at that point, what will be the charge on the membrane? What will be the potential on the membrane? It will be plus. The membrane potential will be plus at that point of time, because sodium is a cation, and by concentration gradient initially it has moved in. Okay. So, therefore, when it reaches equilibrium, charge on the membrane will be plus. So, first try to understand when we consider the equilibrium potential of a particular ion, which sign do we take, plus or minus? It depends on whether it's a cation or anion, and whether by concentration gradient it was moving in or moving out initially. Concentration gradient is our initial concern, initial factor that we look at. Okay, so this is about the sodium. So, sodium's equilibrium potential will be in plus. Now, the point is, we have defined it already, the potential on the membrane at which that ion has reached equilibrium, there will be no net movement of that particular ion. Before we move on, I just want to check whether you have understood which sign is to be taken, plus or minus. So, I will go on asking one by one. Of course, I will answer the question. What do you think the equilibrium potential for potassium? Will it be in plus or minus? Potassium, by concentration gradient, it is 145 on the inside and 4 on the outside. So, initial driving force is always the concentration gradient. Potassium will go out by concentration gradient, and by electrical gradient, as we have already seen, positive charges, they start coming in by electrical gradient in the opposite direction. In the case of potassium, potassium went out, so it carried positive charges to the outside, and therefore more positive charges will line up on the outside of the membrane, and therefore they create an electrical gradient across the membrane. And by that electrical gradient, and already the cell had an electrical gradient for cations to go from outside to inside. We have discussed it in some previous video, concentration gradient versus electrical gradient. You can refer to that video. So potassium went out initially, it carried positive charges to the outside. It means what? It means it left behind the negative charges. The negative charges will become excess on the inside. Positive charges went out initially by concentration gradient. I am talking about potassium. That means it leaves behind the excess negative charges, and therefore when potassium will eventually reach equilibrium, the charge on the membrane will have to be minus, because positive charges initially went out, leaving behind excess negative charges. What about the chloride? Chloride is an anion, and chloride is more on the outside and less on the inside. And therefore, initially by concentration gradient, chloride will move in from outside to inside. It will carry negative charges to the inside, right? You know, chloride is more on in the ECF, 105 milliequivalents per liter. So its concentration gradient drives chloride from outside to inside initially, and then by electrical gradient created, it will go in the opposite direction, and finally they will balance out. So you need to understand this, that the ion movement itself is creating that electrical gradient, plus already there is electrical gradient that exists between ECF and ICF. So chloride, it went out initially, I beg your pardon, chloride from outside to inside, it came from outside to inside, it's high on the outside as we know, 105 milliequivalent per liter. So by concentration gradient it comes in, brings the negative charges, it's an anion. So those negative charges get lined up on the inside of the membrane, and that creates a situation whereby more negative charges lined up just inside the membrane, which was already the case, as compared to outside of the, just outside the membrane. So chloride being an anion will also diffuse from high number of negative charges to low number of negative charges. The electrical gradient, okay, chloride being the anion will then start going out from high number of negative charges to low number of negative charges. That's electrical gradient. And finally, the concentration gradient and electrical gradient will be equal. It reached equilibrium. So that time charge on the membrane will be minus, and therefore equilibrium potential for chloride is, it will be in minus. Just to check for one more time, what do you say about the calcium? Calcium is high in the ECF. Now you must have understood at least what sign is to be taken. You have to just see the initial concentration gradient for that ion. Calcium is high in the ECF and very low in the intracellular fluid. As you are aware, calcium is kept very, very low intracellularly. So initially calcium by concentration gradient, it will diffuse in, and then a newly created electrical gradient will drive it out, and then it will reach equilibrium. But because initially it brought positive charges into the cell. Calcium is a cation. It brought positive charges into the cell initially by concentration gradient. It moved in, and therefore when it reaches equilibrium, charge on the membrane will be in plus. I hope you know already that when we talk of membrane potential, we are essentially talking about the just inside the membrane, charge on the membrane, just inside of the membrane, what is the potential? That is called as membrane potential. Okay, so membranes charges, membranes potentials are always recorded from just inside the membrane. Right. What about the, let's say, H plus? What do you think will be the sign for H plus equilibrium potential? Will it be plus or will it be minus? You have to see where the H plus is higher, in the ICF or ECF. Think about it. H plus is naturally high inside the cells because cells produce acids, isn't it? Cells by their metabolism produce acids. So if we are talking about equilibrium potential for H plus, look, H plus will initially, by concentration gradient, it will go out, it will carry positive charges to the outside, and then therefore negative charges will be left behind, excess negative charges will be left behind inside the cell, and therefore when it reaches equilibrium, the charge on the membrane, on the inside of the membrane, will be in the minus. So equilibrium potential for hydrogen, it's in minus. What do you say about let's say bicarbonate? Plus or minus equilibrium potential for bicarbonate? It is in minus again. Look, bicarbonate is more in the ECF compared to intracellular fluid, and therefore bicarbonate by concentration gradient initially will come in to the cell, and that means it will carry the negative charges to the inside of the cell, and those negative charges will get lined up just inside the membrane, and then an electrical gradient in the opposite direction. So when it reaches equilibrium, we are talking about bicarbonate, when it reaches equilibrium, charge on the membrane, means just inside the membrane, will be in the minus. Right. So that is how we select plus or minus sign. It could be plus, it could be minus. What sign we select depends on its initial concentration gradient. So that's the only factor which interests us the most. Now coming to the value. What is the actual value for equilibrium potential for an ion, any individual ion? It is calculated by using an equation called as Nernst equation. Nernst equation. It says EMF, electromotive force, in millivolts. We are talking about the diffusion potential for an ion and eventually the equilibrium potential for an ion. It's interchangeably called as diffusion potential or equilibrium potential. So EMF in millivolts is equal to plus or minus 61 into log of C1 upon C2. That's the Nernst equation for the calculation of equilibrium potential. I am not going into the mathematics of it or the biophysics part of it, physics part, where from where this 61 has come and the logarithmic scale and so on and so forth. This is the equation that you should always keep in mind. Electromotive force, that's EMF in millivolts, is equal to plus or minus 61 into log of C1 upon C2. Look, The only thing that we have taken into the equation is C1 and C2. C1 and C2 are the concentrations of that ion in the from high and low concentration. So C1 high concentration, C2 low concentration. That's how we only and only look at the initial concentrations. The point is, if you know the initial concentrations of that ion, the high concentration and the low concentration of that ion in the two compartments, then by concentration gradient, the ion will diffuse from high to low concentration, and then there will be an electrical gradient created in the opposite direction, and finally those two forces will balance out. What will be the charge on the membrane? We can now calculate with this equation. Let's take the case of sodium. Let's consider sodium. Sodium concentrations are C1 means high concentration in the ECF, that's 141 milliequivalents per liter, and C2 lower concentration inside the cell, that's 14. So 141 upon 14, C1 upon C2, that's roughly 10, and log of 10 is 1. So we have now acquired some value. Log of C1 upon C2 for sodium is log of 141 upon 14, that's log of 10, log of 10 is 1, into 61, and which sign do we take? Now it should be obvious, we take plus sign. So plus 61 into 1, that's plus 61 millivolts. Let me just clarify here, we are talking about the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle whose RMP, resting membrane potential, is minus 90 millivolts. We are talking about the skeletal muscle right now. Its RMP is minus 90 millivolts, and these are the concentrations of sodium in the ECF of skeletal muscle, which is same everywhere, and intracellular concentration is 14 milliequivalents per liter so far as the skeletal muscle is concerned. That's the sodium's concentration, right? So we have derived the first point. Equilibrium potential for sodium is plus 61 millivolts. I have repeatedly said certain things because this is a conceptual understanding, and therefore I have repeated myself over and over again. Why the plus sign has come? Because sodium is a cation, and by initial concentration gradient it came from outside to inside. It got lined up on the inside of the membrane, and whenever we say membrane potential, it means the potential just inside of the membrane. So that will be plus 61 millivolts. The meaning is, whenever the membrane potential is plus 61 millivolts, means just inside the membrane for any cell, particularly skeletal muscle cell, it is plus 61 millivolts, there will not be any net movement of sodium. Net diffusion of sodium will stop. Okay, sodium will be in a state of equilibrium. But as I mentioned previously, at least in the case of sodium and potassium, equilibrium are slightly hypothetical or theoretical things. I mean, they generally do not reach and stay at equilibrium. They are constantly on the move. Okay, so we will discuss that also later. Let's talk about potassium. Equilibrium potential for potassium calculated by Nernst equation. Potassium is 145 milliequivalents per liter on the inside and 4 milliequivalents per liter on the outside. If we put the same values in the Nernst equation, if we put these values, I mean to say, if we put these values 145 is to 4, C1 upon C2 in the Nernst equation, the value that is derived is minus 96 millivolts. So equilibrium potential for potassium is minus 96 millivolts as calculated from the Nernst equation, putting its concentrations, initial concentrations. Right. Why minus value? We have already discussed that, because potassium is high on the inside, low on the outside. So initially by concentration gradient, it's going to go out. That means it is going to leave minus charges. Relatively excess negative charges will remain on the inside of the cell. So when it reached equilibrium, the charge on the membrane will be minus 96 millivolts. At minus 96 millivolts charge on the membrane, potassium will not have any net movement, either from inside to outside or outside to inside, right? So that's potassium. Now I am making another important conceptual point. RMP of the skeletal muscle is minus 90 millivolts. That's the resting membrane potential for a skeletal muscle, minus 90 millivolts. And suppose only sodium was allowed to move. Yeah, I have to make this point now, that when we talk about the equilibrium potential for an ion, listen to this part carefully. When we talk of equilibrium potential for an ion, we allow only that ion to move and reach equilibrium. Other ions were not allowed to move. If I talk about the sodium's equilibrium, reaching of equilibrium of sodium, all other ions were held constant and only sodium was moving. Okay, then it moved in and then it lined up the positive charges on the inside, etc. So equilibrium potential, equilibrium potential for an ion, when we discuss that, we allow only one ion to move. All other ions are held constant. When we talk of potassium equilibrium potential of minus 96 millivolts, only potassium was allowed to move from inside to outside by concentration gradient. Now I am making a very important point. RMP of the skeletal muscle is minus 90. Suppose sodium and potassium, now we allow both these ions to move. Okay, sodium moves from outside to inside by concentration gradient, potassium goes from inside to outside, and they both reach equilibrium simultaneously, and I am saying charge on the membrane is minus 90 millivolts. RMP, membrane is resting at minus 90 millivolts, and sodium and potassium both moved and both have reached equilibrium. Both were allowed to move. Which ion must have been the greatest contributor to the development of RMP? Was it sodium or was it potassium? Come on. If the sodium alone was moving, when it reaches equilibrium, charge on the membrane is plus 61 millivolts. When only potassium is moving and reaching equilibrium, charge on the membrane is minus 96 millivolts, minus. Now I am saying both these ions move and both these ions reach equilibrium and the membrane reaches RMP, membrane potential reaches resting membrane potential, minus 90 millivolts. Who must have been the greatest contributor? Yes, the answer is potassium. So the next point that you should clearly take up in the mind is potassium is the greatest contributor to the development of RMP. Excuse me. Right? Now, why is that? Because a membrane, listen to this part, a membrane is 50 to 100 times more permeable to potassium as compared to sodium. There are more number of potassium channels in the membrane. Potassium's concentration gradient is wider, 145:4, compared to sodium's concentration gradient 141:14. So more number of channels for potassium movement, wider concentration gradient for potassium, and potassium hydrated ion is smaller in size. Considering all these factors, potassium moves 50 to 100 times faster as compared to sodium, or membrane is much more diffusible, permeable to potassium as compared to sodium. So imagine now, sodium and potassium, these were the initial concentrations. They both were allowed to move simultaneously. They both reached equilibrium simultaneously. And I am saying, because of those movements, charge on the RMP has become minus 90 millivolts. Naturally, potassium must have been the greatest contributor, because look, minus 96 is the equilibrium potential for potassium. That means what? Potassium, while diffusing out, it drags the membrane potential towards its own equilibrium potential. Can you understand this? If only potassium was moving and reaching equilibrium, the charge on the membrane is, that time it is minus 96 millivolts. Now sodium and potassium both are allowed to move and both reach equilibrium, but potassium movement was so large as compared to sodium coming in. Potassium exit, potassium going out, was so large a movement that the sodium influx was just negligible. Sodium carried a few positive charges on the inside, was hardly of any consequence. It was the potassium which was the dominating factor in these two movements, sodium and potassium's movement. So potassium going out, diffusing out, is the greatest contributor in the development of resting membrane potential. That's a very important point. Potassium, while diffusing out, it pulls and drags, I mean just metaphorically speaking, it drags the membrane potential value to its own equilibrium potential value, minus 96, and RMP minus 90. So because some sodium moves in, it carries positive charges on the inside of the membrane. Therefore, finally the RMP is not minus 96 but minus 90, but very close to the equilibrium potential for potassium. Yeah, remember this. And the reason behind it is that membrane is high, compared to sodium and potassium, membrane is highly permeable to potassium. So potassium movement compared to sodium movement will be very, very large and the major contributor. Now coming to the next interesting point. Equilibrium potential for chloride. Equilibrium potential for chloride is minus 89 millivolts in the case of a skeletal muscle. How do you interpret this value? Okay, many students ask me this question at this stage. Sir, then this is even closer to minus 90 millivolts. So why can't we say chloride is the major, most important contributor to the RMP? Means it must be chloride which is moving so massively that it drags the membrane's potential towards its own equilibrium potential. No. Look, it's the potassium which contributes maximally. Potassium and sodium have moved, they have reached equilibrium, and charge on the membrane, and I said this equilibrium is a hypothetical concept because they do not stay there. Immediately sodium potassium pump will again redistribute sodium and potassium. So not hypothetical, but very, very temporary phenomenon it is. It does not stay like that. They are constantly on the move. Now, what is the meaning of this? The MCQ which I asked you, equilibrium potential for which ion is closest to the RMP of a muscle? Answer is obvious now, minus 89 millivolts. So the answer is chloride. But how do you interpret this? The interpretation is simply that chloride hardly moves when membrane is at RMP. When the membrane is at RMP, that is minus 90 millivolts, this minus 90 millivolts was brought about by the movement of sodium and potassium, mainly potassium. Now the RMP is minus 90 and equilibrium potential for chloride is minus 89. Why minus? We've already seen that. It's so close, minus 89, minus 90, I mean almost similar value, almost identical values. And do you remember what did we say about equilibrium potential for any ion? It is that potential on the membrane at which there is no net movement of that particular ion. The ion will be in equilibrium when the membrane potential is that value. So, imagine that the skeletal muscle is resting at the RMP of minus 90 millivolts and chloride has got a equilibrium potential of minus 89, which is, I mean, almost identical values. It means what? It means chloride will be in equilibrium when the membrane potential is at minus 89 or minus 90. That is the equilibrium potential for chloride. Means chloride will almost remain in equilibrium, it hardly will move. Okay, so chloride movement will be the least, and I am saying this because major contributor to the RMP is potassium, followed by some contribution from sodium, and when they cause the RMP to be minus 90 millivolts, it's so close to the equilibrium potential for chloride that chloride is in equilibrium. Yeah, so therefore revise the definition of equilibrium potential for any ion. What does it mean? Okay, so that takes me to another point, which is again a very important conceptual point. The point is, when the membrane potential is close to the equilibrium potential of an ion, then the ion movement will be least. Ion will hardly move. Yeah, because after all, what is the equilibrium potential? That potential on the membrane, that potential of the membrane at which the ion is in equilibrium. There will be no net movement of that ion. Correct? Yes. So ion will hardly move if the membrane potential at any given point is closest to the equilibrium potential of that ion. Okay. And if the membrane potential has moved far away from the equilibrium potential of that ion, then the ion movement will be great. I repeat once again, it's very, very important for you to understand action potential, for you to understand other potential developments on the membrane. So I repeat for one more time, listen to this carefully. When the membrane potential is close to the equilibrium potential of that ion, of a particular ion, then the ion will not move. Ion will hardly move. It will remain in equilibrium. But if the membrane potential is far away as a value, far away from the equilibrium potential for an ion, then the ion movement will be great. Ion will move greatly. There will be a very high movement of that ion. Okay. Now, let's take an example to understand this value, to understand this concept, I beg your pardon. Let's say a cell, say skeletal muscle, it is resting at minus 90 millivolts and there is a sodium and potassium channel. It allows sodium entry and potassium exit. Okay. Impulse arrives through the nerve. The channel opens. What I am trying to say is RMP minus 90 millivolts. Membrane is resting. There is sodium and potassium channel. Means you are going to allow sodium and potassium, both ions, to move. Impulse came, the channel opens, sodium and potassium both move. Which ion will move at a great extent? Will it be sodium or will it be potassium? Come on, we have discussed it now. Come on, say this answer. Yes, it will be sodium. Sodium entry will be much larger now as compared to potassium exit. Potassium going out, potassium movement will be small. Sodium movement and sodium influx, because sodium comes in by concentration gradient, will be much larger. Why? Because minus 90 is close to minus 96 millivolts, which is the equilibrium potential for potassium, close value. So potassium won't have that much force to move, but it is very far off. This minus 90 is far off from plus 61 millivolts, which is the equilibrium potential for sodium. So the pull on the sodium will be much greater. Please remember this. Pull on the sodium will be much greater because its equilibrium potential is plus 61, which is far away from the membrane potential. So please remember this, when the membrane potential is close to the value of the equilibrium potential for an ion, the ion will not move much. But if membrane potential value is far away from the equilibrium potential for an ion, then the ion movement will be great. Please remember one more example. This is just to emphasize my point further. Let's say RMP of a nerve is minus 70 millivolts and you stimulate the nerve. Sodium and potassium, both channels open. So sodium is allowed to come in and potassium is allowed to go out. Both ions are going to move. But which ion will predominate? Come on, now the membrane has been stimulated. Which ion's movement will predominate? Sodium. Sodium influx will predominate as compared to potassium exit, which will happen very slowly. So, and why is that? Same thing which we have discussed almost 3 times now. So, sodium influx will predominate over potassium exit and that will result in depolarization. Okay. So, sodium coming in and membrane is depolarized. You remember action potential graph from minus 70 to plus 35. The membrane has reached plus 35. Membrane has got depolarized. Sodium channels have got closed now. And now the potassium movement will gather momentum. Why? Because now the membrane has reached plus 35 millivolts. Membrane has excited. Membrane potential has reached plus 35 millivolts, which is far away from the equilibrium potential for potassium, which is minus 96 millivolts. So now the potassium exit will gather momentum. It will start going out and it will carry the membrane potential back to towards minus 90 millivolts towards its own equilibrium potential. Yeah, membrane will hyperpolarize for few milliseconds. Right. So that was the concept which I wanted to discuss in the context of equilibrium potential. Let me just add one more point here and then we will finish this video. What about the nerve? Okay, RMP of a nerve is minus 70 millivolts, resting membrane potential. Equilibrium potential for sodium in the case of a nerve, it's going to be plus positive value plus 60 millivolts instead of 61. Equilibrium potential for potassium minus 90 millivolts instead of minus 96. Equilibrium potential for chloride is minus 70 millivolts. So 2 points here. One is, why is it that the values are different for nerve, the equilibrium potentials, and also the RMP values, different for nerve, different for muscle? Why is it that? Because when we calculate equilibrium potential in the Nernst equation, what are we taking? C1 upon C2. Now, ECF concentrations are same for all these ions, sodium, potassium, chloride. Their ECF concentrations will be same in the case of nerve and same in the case of muscle. But ICF concentrations will be different. For all these ions, the ICF concentration will be different for nerve, different for muscle. Not a big difference, but they will be different values. And therefore, since we are taking C1 and C1 upon C2, the values will be different. There will be different concentrations of these ions inside nerve and inside muscle. And therefore, the equilibrium potential values are different for nerve, different for muscle. When we started this discussion, I had mentioned this. Students often ask this question, why the values are different in nerve and different for muscle or for different cells? That's the answer, because intracellular concentrations are different for these ions, for different cells. Okay, and the second is, here was the tricky question. Equilibrium potential for which ion is closest to the RMP of a nerve? Closest. Now, principally speaking, look at this fact. Principally speaking, the answer should be again chloride. Okay? Close, almost the same value. So, chloride will hardly move. Yes, principally we have accepted that. But there is a small hitch. This is a multiple choice question asked in an exam. And very often they talk of technicalities also. See, equilibrium potential for which ion is closest to the RMP of the nerve? Closest means what? Two different values which are close to each other, very close to each other, that should be closest, right? Minus 70 is not closest to minus 70. Minus 70 is minus 70. So technically speaking, the answer given for in that particular exam was potassium, minus 90. Forget about this technicality. Principally speaking, remember always, chloride's equilibrium potential is always closest to the RMP of any cell, and therefore chloride always is sitting pretty, it hardly moves, it is in equilibrium. Right. Finally, equilibrium potential for which ion is highest in the body? This is the last point of this video. The answer is calcium. Well, the values, different values are given in different books. It is 129 millivolts. So, almost double the value of sodium. Yeah, plus 61 millivolts for sodium. Here is plus 129 millivolts. Why it is plus? We have seen that also. Why it is highest? Highest for any ion is the value for calcium. Why? Two reasons. One, do you remember in the Nernst equation, what was considered? C1 upon C2. And more the C1 upon C2, higher the value, more will be the movement of that ion actually. So C1 upon C2 for sodium was 141 upon 14, yeah. For calcium, the C1 upon C2 is almost 10,000. I mean, intracellular calcium is very, very low. Cytoplasmic calcium, intracytoplasmic calcium is very, very low. Calcium is never kept in the cytoplasm. Very low concentration inside the cell. So C1 to C2 ratio in the case of calcium is in fact highest in the body for any ion, and it's very high. And second is, calcium is a divalent cation. Sodium and potassium were monovalent cations. Calcium is a divalent cation. So every time the calcium comes in by its concentration gradient, it carries double the number of positive charges as compared to sodium. And therefore, when it reaches equilibrium, charge on the membrane is almost double, or even in fact more than double, 129 millivolts. So that's the reason why the value is highest for calcium, plus 129 millivolts. Finally, equilibrium potentials for other ions like hydrogen or bicarbonate, these values are given different in different books, but just remember they are close to minus 23, minus 24 millivolts. Some books have given minus 28 millivolts. Some have also given minus 32 millivolts. The point that you should remember it is in minus, and it's somewhere in the range of 20 to 30 for both these ions. So that was the concept for equilibrium and equilibrium potential for an ion.